My name is Jacelyn Matthews, and I graduated from Hillside in 2001. I always knew that I was going to college. That was never an issue, a question in my household. And so, in answer to your question about did Hillside prepare me, I think there were certain teachers that did. To be totally transparent, I'm grateful for the teachers that I did have that gave me that basis and that foundation to do well in college. Wow. I would say Mrs. Bartholomew, I called her Miss Davis, Mr. Hurley, and Miss Mancinelli. I believe that they were the ones that Miss Bartholomew one is the one that saw my potential. I was not in an honors or an AP history class when I had her. She saw that I could do more and was capable of more, and so pushed me to go into AP. If it wasn't for her, I would have never done it and been prepared, I think, for going into college and studying on an academic, that higher academic level. Mr. Hurley, Miss Mancinelli, both were honors and AP teachers. So I think they gave me that push that I needed to do well and be successful. Math, and math is still a weakness. So I think it's just about knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, finding those who can support you in your education. If you need additional help and resources, you seek them out. And that's was what I would do. When I had my stats class, I struggled, and so I would go to professors in their office hours and say I need additional help. There's no shame in doing that and getting the resources you need. I think that's one of the things that we need to learn when we're actually going into higher ed or going into the real world. Sometimes we're not taught about how to find and utilize the resources that are among us. So I think the push to do that and knowing it's okay to do that is what helped me be successful. Probably, I don't want to say it wasn't difficult. I think that there are clearly tons of differences, right? You're on your own. You don't have a parent or a caregiver telling you when to wake up. You don't have your teachers on top of you saying, do your homework, do this, do that. It really is about you and wanting to be the best that you can be. So that's a transition, right? Because you have to figure it out. But then once you get into the groove of things, then it's okay. I will recommend and suggest that no one take 8 a.m. classes because 8 a.m. coming to school in high school is very different than 8 a.m. in college. So if you can avoid taking 8 a.m. classes, avoid it. Because I think that was my downfall my first semester, like, oh, I'm used to this. No, you're not. It's different. So I attended St. John's University in Queens, and my major was psychology, a minor in sociology. I then went on to Columbia University to get both my master's degrees in counseling psychology, and then now I'm working on my doctorate in education and social justice at Rutgers University. Oh, typical day. Nothing's typical. So I will say that I went to school to be a mental health clinician. I worked as a clinician for many years, recognizing that there were things being decided amongst administrators that then trickled down to the work and the impact I was able to have with my clients, and I didn't like that. So I vowed that I would be a person that would be a program director so that I can make decisions, I can create programming that was culturally relevant and sensitive, that was encompassing of all the things that were impacting the clients and the families that I was seeing. And so I became a program director, working for a grief support center in the cities of Newark and Mountainside. And then I was like, but there's so many other things that are happening in terms of policy that impacts the work that you're able to do. And so I wanted to get into policy that impacted mental health. And so now I'm working for an organization called Ignite National, where we try to get more young women to be civically engaged. And so part of that work that I'm doing is about mental health policy, working with legislators and policymakers about how we can change the way that our country views mental health, and the laws that we're passing that gives equitable access to mental health resources. So a day in my life as doing my current role varies from day to day. Some days I'm in tons of meetings with fellows because I work regionally. So I have staff from Ohio all the way down to DC that I'm managing. And so I might be in meetings with them. I might be in meetings with community organizers, community leaders, elected officials, other legislators, Congress people, just to kind of talk about the things that I feel like are really important to our community within the Northeast. And getting them to see and advocate for those bills and those pieces of legislation I think are really important. So my day in the life looks very different depending on who I have a meeting with that day or not, or I'm also still doing a lot of programming. So working amongst my programs team to talk about what other programs we can put on to bring awareness to many different issues that are happening within our communities. I like to listen to people. I like to help people. I like to have people feel that they were valued, that they were seen and heard. And I think oftentimes that's not what's happening. People don't feel like they have a safe place to be who they are authentically. And I know that when people talk to me after they left my presence, they said how safe they felt. And so I wanted to create those spaces of safety and also of brave spaces, because there's one thing to be safe, there's another thing to have brave spaces. So I wanted to create spaces like that for my clients, for community members, particularly when we think about how mental health is stigmatized in Black and brown communities. And so how do we drop the stigma? We have more people that look like us in those spaces, right? To say like, this is okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to have someone you can talk to. And so that was something I always wanted to do. It's something I continue to advocate for. Yes, that's how I got here. My advice would be to continue to stay in your books, continue to study. I know that these days, sometimes it can feel like the only way to be successful is to go to college. There are so many different avenues of success. So figuring out what your niche is and following that, pursuing it with passion, and talking to your teachers, talking to teachers you feel, or staff members, administrators you feel safe with, to have conversations about what your future can look like and start mapping that out. It may seem too early to start thinking about it, but it's not. And I would say take advantage of the opportunities to be in close proximity with family and loved ones, because sometimes we take that for granted when we leave the house, we leave the nest, quote unquote, whether we're going to college, picking up a trade. These moments that we have to be with them or to build our community and our village is so incredibly important. And that's another piece. So really finding friends who can be a village for you, a safe place for you. Because I think that's something that we lose and we take for granted after we leave high school. So really figuring out who those people can be that can help you on your journey.